We're just 2 weeks away from the 68th annual Whas Crusade for Children, but in the meantime, you're watching and listening to Moral Side of the News, and we're glad you're here. I'm John Blim with the Whas Crusade for Children. This week, a distinguished panel is here with me. Reverend Harriett Akins-Banman, Centenary United Methodist Church, New Albany. Rabbi Emeritus Stan Miles, Temple Shalom. Father Tony Smith, Archdiocese of Louisville. Reverend Daniel Corrie Shull, Burnett Avenue Baptist Church. Welcome, panel. Our first topic, the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol is back in the news, with Kentucky Republican Representative Thomas Massie making headlines. Massie is one of two Republican congressmen who fear some of the suspects in the riot will be treated unfairly. Massie and Texas Republican Chip Roy wrote to Attorney General Merrick Garland, and they said, quote, "Public outcry and hyper-politics of the January 6th events may incentivize prosecutors to overly aggressive tactics, overcharge, and abuse the power of the federal government." End of quote. So now we turn to our panel on Moral Side of the News. Please share your thoughts on this.
I long for the good old days. I really do. I get nostalgic. When people who commit treason against the United States of America are duly punished. The act of storming the Capitol, of that vandalism, of what they said about the Vice President of the United States, to me, that's not free speech. That's right up there with screaming fire in a crowded theater. That's treasonous behavior, and it shouldn't be tolerated, period.
I agree with you, but on the other hand, isn't it important at a time when reactions have been so quickly made that we are reminded by Massie to not go hypervigilant, to be thoughtful about this process. And I would hope that would trickle down in all of the cases and in all of that we're experiencing right now. But you're right. Those who are guilty should be held responsible.
Well, of course, it's probably no secret that I think they all should be thrown up under the jail. I think I'm still fascinated by the lack of response by law enforcement to those rogue band of thugs who stormed the U.S. Capitol, who not only stormed the U.S. Capitol, but they vandalized it. They stole various items, and it's on video. I think that they should receive the full extent of punishment. And I think they should receive that punishment not only because of treason against the United States of America, not only because of vandalism of a federal piece of property, not only because of theft of items from the offices of Congress people, and even statues and podiums and all types of things that they were carting off, but because this nation needs to move toward equity. Mm-hmm. And I remember very well, it has been just about a week under a year ago where the LMPD here in Louisville were taking batons to protesters here in Louisville and were not only beating, not only shooting tear gas, not only abusing people in the most atrocious sense of the word. And this has been multiplied throughout our nation. I don't understand why these individuals would not receive at least the legal consequences for their videotaped crime.
My response is a yes and a no to what's being said so far. Let me preface, I don't think the law has changed, but I don't know how many people are aware that if you create a crime or an act of crime, whatever, on a federal establishment, that's considered a felony. Even in the military, if you run a red light or run a red stop sign on a military base, that could be considered a felony because it's the Federal Reserve. With that being said, yes, but I would order caution, obviously. Stan, what you're saying may be true, but how do you define treason? That's still debatable right now in regards to this issue. Number two is how many of those individuals who, quote, stormed, as you know, Corrie, as you said, we have the video, but how many of those basically hold that mentality, made that statement? I went online looking at the over 400 some who are charged so far, and the gosh, I mean, it's like a 3 or 4 page readout of different criminal activities, going from basically disruptive entry behavior all the way up to assault with deadly weapons, etc. Yes, those, I think you're correct, guys, gals. For those who have been found guilty, are to be found guilty, or are found guilty of these criminal acts, especially assault on police, etc., the book should be thrown at them. But again, if you look at, again, another little research, if you look at federal crimes in this country since 1990, 95% of all federal crimes are handled through an appeal. They don't go to trial. And so right now you're looking at the doings, ins and outs of federal government, as I understand it, trying to deal with appeals and whatever of what some of these individuals, most of them have just followed along like little sheep, whatever, where they told them to do, they went and did. But some, yes, indeed, some are the guilty as sin, I think, as you correctly say. But I would just say a little caution. I'm not basically siding with Representative Massey at all. I think he's in error. But at the same time, we need to be cautious about how we're going to deal out punishment for this activities. In regards to the activities of other activities, and yes, seems to be a disassociation of levels of punishment, et cetera. Yes, that is an issue to be dealt with as well. But in regards to the January 6th, I think let's just let it play out. There's still another, 200 individuals being investigated now. And they say some of the fellows, one of the guys who has some of the highest, to use the terminology, highest criminal charges against him, is pleading out now and turning evidence against other individuals as well. So let's let it play out a little bit, and let's be careful about throwing around words like treason, unless you're willing to define what that means according to the Constitution, and that's very limited.
Tony, I think you have a very valid point. And thank you for putting a rein on me. But
I try, Stan. I try all the time.
You succeeded today, Tony. There is one image from this week that still befuddles me, and that is the image of, I believe, Congressman Andrew Clyde from Georgia, saying that the folks who were there were just like a normal group of tourists. I mean, that we must live in some kind of alternative universe, because the behavior that I saw on television, the screaming, the costuming, the theft, I've never seen. I've been a tourist. I've never behaved like that. It didn't make for him to say that, it didn't make a dime's worth of sense to me.
I find it difficult, or rather intriguing, let's put it that way, that the Representative Massey and Representative Roy, who wrote this letter, I don't get a chance to read the letter that he wrote to the Department of Justice, but why they're making demands upon the DOJ, which I'm wondering why, because they're members of Congress, yes, but they sit on different committees, but I don't see any of the committees they're sitting on, aviation, technology, oversight in regards to farming and things like that. What does that have to do with having the authority to demand the DOJ surrender to Congress a rationale for what's going on? To me, it sounds like, again, it's kind of a get my name in the news, my 15 minutes of fame routine. So, I mean, that throws into the mix as well. Who's making the charges here and for what reason?
Well, as we record this program, there still isn't a special congressional committee for January 6th. Do we anticipate, or do you all anticipate there will be one eventually?
From the Senate, rather doubtful.
think what concerns me is that which is done and that which is not done regarding this case becomes precedent. And moving forward, what does that mean for our country in its divisiveness? And how can this incident and the way it's handled by our government be a point of bringing some, I don't know that normacy is the correct word, but some healing and some accountability that is so needed.
We'll see. But I think Senator McConnell, our own senator, is going to be the blocking stone there for any kind of basically bill being passed to establish this oversight.
Senator McConnell needs to be blocked. He needs to be voted out of office. He is just a terrible blight, not only on the state of Kentucky, but on the entire United States of America. And I just think that needs to be said, particularly because he continues to operate with such a lack of integrity, with such a lack of concern for the entirety of the body politic. And I hope this is his last go round.
All right, panel, let's move on to our second topic on moral side of the news. Something everybody is talking about. The CDC says people who have received the COVID-19 vaccine can be indoors and outdoors without their masks. Some businesses say, hold on a minute. Among those still requiring masks include Walgreens, Home Depot, and Macy's. Meantime, Target, Starbucks, Costco, KFC Yum Center, and the Kentucky Exposition Center say no more masks required if you've been fully vaccinated. So turning now to our panel on moral side of the news, how do you feel about this? And where is your trust level?
How are they going to tell if I'm fully vaccinated? That's the big question. I mean, I have the card and I keep it in my wallet. I also took a picture of it. It's on my cell phone. I can show that. But is it going to be like being carded at a bar? I mean, I don't mind it. I'm just wondering who are they going to diligently look to see that the people who enter their establishments have been fully vaccinated?
And in the meantime, the virus will continue to do what viruses do, which is mutate and change and adapt. And perhaps the vaccination we have received will not cover that. And I think that is my biggest concern, is not helping to stop the wildfire while the fire is still burning. So I plan to still wear my mask and to really limit where I go, just because I want to help stop it. And for me, that's one way I can do that.
Well, this past weekend at worship services, there was much confusion as to should you wear a mask, not wear a mask. I wore a mask as I entered one service, but did not wear it as I exited. In a sense, it's up to the individual's honesty, etc. But Stan, you mentioned the card. I don't know if you're aware of this, gang, but there's already an FBI warning out about people putting out fake vaccination cards and things of this nature that you can buy online already that would just kind of say, I've been vaccinated, when really you have not been vaccinated. So I'm like you, Stan. I have a photocopy in my wallet, but my actual vaccination card's in my safe. And the routine is I've also, plasticized the copy so that it can fit in my wallet.
Laminate.
Laminate, that's it. Thank you. When you get older, the words, you start missing words, so. But lamination, but they say the word I've heard is don't laminate your actual card, because if there is a booster, as Harriet's mentioning about possibly the need for a booster, then you don't want to vaccinate, or you don't want to have your card. They have to write on that card, and they can't do it if it's laminated. So, but anyway, there's whenever someone's going to make a few bucks, there are people out there already putting out fake vaccination cards in case the airlines, in case the shows, the shops, all that demand to see something. There's no way we can really say yes or nay.
I think I can come down on saying wear the mask if we continue to look at the worldwide news. and see what is continuing to happen in India and in other places that are still having high deaths and not receiving inoculations.
All right. I know Archbishop Kurtz is waiting for the, is it the 11th of June? I think that's when the state here will say you don't longer have to wear a mask and things of this nature. But until that time, he's giving obviously leeway to the particular churches. We know our congregations better than he. And so he's just basically saying be cautious, but by the 11th of June, we hope to be back in full swing. But Harriet, I'm kind of like yourself. I don't think 11th of June is going to make a bit of difference as far as the virus goes. So
it makes me think about those who are not able to receive the vaccination because they might be immune compromised already and because of a medical condition can't take it. So how do we offer care to those within our community as well as our congregations in this time?
Need to do, what is it, was the governor of Ohio, did he offer $1 million bounty or something like that, a draw?
Yeah.
And they say the vaccinations went way up. So, but no, that doesn't, like you say though, Harry, if individuals who can't get there, the elderly, those without vehicles, whatever, we do need in some form or fashion to increase the ability of getting the vaccines out to these, even visiting homes, I guess. Ringing a doorbell and say, stick out your arm, we'll give you a vaccine. But then that would increase some anxiety as well. What were they getting in their arm at from the front door as opposed to in a healthcare center or something? It's going to be a while before we get back to any way, shape, or form of normality, so-called. So.
We've been at this a long time. We're all tired, I know. But do you think this is too much, too soon, too fast, and we need to put the brakes on this? Are you worried about another spike upswing?
Well, no,
it seems like all of a sudden, like all of a sudden we are heading in a direction of everything's okay and the new normal. I just pray that not if there's a variant, there's going to be a variant, but if the variant that we're faced with can be treated with the present vaccines or a booster just totally quickly and easily.
It seems really fast to me. I cannot reconcile what I see happening in some parts of our nation, what's happening globally with the rush to resume things as normal. I'm also disheartened that our society has elected to go back to things as normal as opposed to moving forward, to think about more healthy patterns, more wholesome ways of being. I really thought that we had found a new way to move into the future, given the technological innovations that we all live with. And also, I thought we had moved into a period where we had become more humane. But it seems like suddenly all of that went out the window. And there was a mad dash to back to the way things used to be. And I'm concerned about that. I'm very prayerful that there will not be another outbreak, but I'm deeply concerned because we have so many people who have not been vaccinated. We have communities that just outright resist the idea of vaccination. And I don't know what type of crisis that might cause. And so the next 2 months, I think, will be very, very critical.
I will say amen to that.
A couple of days ago on a mailbox, the mailbox was defaced. It was defaced with these 3 words: vax equals genocide. That was every bit as terrifying as what we're dealing with. Because I'm not scientifically adept or medically adept, but I look at the vaccine as a gateway to healing for the planet, not, God forbid, not genocide.
What's interesting about that line of thinking it is most often spouted by people who have spent their entire lives being vaccinated and having their children vaccinated. Since the 1950s, we have vaccinated all children in this country. As a father, every time I take my children to the doctor for their yearly checkup, right around their birthdays, there are 2 or 3 shots that they're due to receive based on their age. I am confused as to why people are resistant to this vaccine. When, you know, it will save so many lives, it will allow people to have a greater level of freedom. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Had a person, last comment here, a person after one of the services last week grabbed my hand and shake my hand and said, I don't believe in this vaccine stuff and all this, you know, and didn't have a mask on. And I said to him, what do you want me to say at your funeral? And he looked at me and I said, I buried 4 friends who had that same mentality over the last few months. And he threw my hand away and walked away. I mean, I'm like yourself, Corrie, what possesses people? I mean, even if you're into science, the science is saying this, the experts are saying this, and even some of the people who got the virus are saying this. So I'm with you. I have no idea.
I don't know what to say about it, what to think about it even. In my native home of Nashville, Tennessee, a beloved pastor died last Friday of COVID. They did not take the necessary precautions. I'm not sure that he received the vaccine. And after 55 years of serving this one congregation, his ministry ended with him spending 12 days on a ventilator and then dying from COVID-19. And all I could think of is that it just didn't have to be this way. If people would adhere to the opportunities to be vaccinated, would take proper precautions, would really honor the severity of the times that we are living through, that more people would get to the other side with their lives intact.
The word that comes, to borrow your word, Corrie, disheartened. I think what I find so disheartening about this experience is that shadow side of humanity that is showing up with fear and anger and wanting our own way, that sense of entitlement or selfishness, that has really disheartened me, that we have not wanted to come together in a time of a worldwide situation to make things better.
Okay, panel, to close out our program, we've got about 3 minutes left. In a couple of weeks, we'll celebrate the 68th annual WHAS Crusade for Children, helping make life better for children with special needs. So just briefly, if you would, what would you say to people to encourage them to give and make a difference?
This is a good thing to get out for. This, of course, with the distancing you feel is necessary. Let's help these kids. We didn't forget about them last year, but we didn't do as well as we wanted to do. This year, we have the opportunity to do so much better.
Raising children for most people is risky business and a bit difficult. That is, if you have a child that does not have some of the burdens that other children have. If your child is neurotypical, you don't know what it is to have to deal with some of the other issues that parents and of children who are not neurotypical have to deal with. And because of that, we all ought to rally around these children because they fight to live and to thrive.
My comment was going to be, all of us serve, ministers here serve on the panel boards, that we see year after year after year, people coming to us asking for assistance. But not only do we see that, but we get reports back on how good it is doing, what good it's doing for the kids. And that's very helpful. And I would just last thing say, again, every penny that comes in to us goes to the kids.
They are all our children, so fill the boot.
Right.
All right, panel, thank you. The 68th annual WHAS Crusade for Children is just 2 weeks away on June 5th and 6th, starting at 1 o'clock on Saturday and ending at 7 o'clock on Sunday. We'll see that final total.
This is the 1963 WHAS Crusade for Children. seems like a cliche. People have been saying it about the pandemic. We're all in this together. Well, the crusade is something that we've all been in together for many, many years.
And these amazing machines that saved her life, I just remember seeing WHAS Crusade for Children.
There's nothing really, I think, quite like it anywhere else in the world that I know of. Not all investments are a sure bet, but I consider the Crusade to be a sure bet in the future of the children's lives that are affected.
Being in the first responder field, of course, whether you're a firefighter, police officer, work in EMS, the 911 dispatcher, you're here to serve your community. So knowing that you made a difference means the world to us. Knowing that we can give something back, it's just a great feeling.
I actually had 3 children who were born premature, so it's close to home, and it's great to be able to help these kids and parents that need it, that otherwise would struggle or have to do without.
And we're really proud to be able to do this and assist the WHAS Crusade annually to raise this money, and it means everything to all of us. I mean, we all dig in and do the best we can.
Like many of our churches have been challenged by the COVID crisis, that we've found a way to keep doing the great work of the church, and the same is true for the crusade. Love always finds a way.
And I was so moved at how people give to Crusade for Children through all these decades from the generosity of what they have. And it makes the children that are served in Kentucky and Indiana all of our children. And it's priceless.
To those of you who contribute to the crusade, a heartfelt thank you. Our courageous kids thank you too.
For those of you who contribute to the crusade, just want to personally say thank you. It's helped so many families just like mine. We wouldn't be here without you.
My aunt and uncle thought so highly of Crusade for Children and what they did for their family that they wanted to contribute to that. And I think that they would be so proud of what Crusade does for others. On behalf of my aunt and uncle, I encourage everyone to consider a gift of hope and caring to keep on the legacy of yourself and others through Crusade for Children. Thank you for giving.
Thanks to our panel, Rabbi Stan Miles, Harriett Akins-Banman, Tony Smith, and Daniel Corrie Shull. We'll be back again next week with a special edition of Moral Side of the News, and in 2 weeks, it'll be Crusade Weekend. Thanks to our panel, and have a great week. New this year, if you'd like to catch this program again, just jump on YouTube and search for Moral Side of the News. You can donate right now at whascrusade.org and learn about the many different ways to give. Thank you for making life better for children with special needs. Thank you for watching and listening to Moral Side of the News. We'll be back again next week with another program. Until then, so long.